What's going on, everybody? My name is Monatui, coach of the Tampa Bay Luxrays, and today I'm bringing you guys our Week 4 match versus El Sizzler, aka Lars, of GBA Season 6. Like I said in my team builder, please check out Lars' channel in the description below. He is a great content creator. He is very good at Pokemon, which is definitely cool. He made the playoffs last season, and he is, although he's coming off of a little bit of a rough season so far, he is definitely... I do not underestimate him at all. I know how good he is. I know he is better than his record shows, and I know that he is going to be pushing for every single game from here on out. So I have an entire team builder dedicated to my team, but for a quick recap, I have my physically defensive Overberry Bronzong, I have the Scarf Porygon Z, I have my speedy specially defensive Mandibuzz, our mixed defensive Calm Amoonguss, our Scarf Selgor, and our Mega Manectric, modest Mega Manectric that is. And on his side, he has his Aromatisse, Mesprit, Crawdaunt, Mega Alakazam, Shaman, and Druddigon. So no Landers Incarnate was kind of surprising, but I can definitely see why he didn't bring it. I do have the Mandibuzz to check it, the Bronzong to check it. A lot of my team can outspeed it and hit it with ice coverage and just knock it out, so I can understand why he wouldn't want to bring that. Crawdaunt is scary. Like I said, if it's a setup Crawdaunt and I allow it to set up, that's really bad for me. Looking at his team, I'm thinking he's going to have like a rough skin Rocky Helmet Druddigon because he could have expected my Emboar to come. It does match up pretty well against his team. So I'm kind of thinking that that's going to be his rocker. I'm thinking maybe a Scarf Mesprit, maybe an E-Belt. I'm not entirely sure yet. And he's got that Mega Alakazam like I expected, big threat. Shaman, I'm also not entirely sure. I got to figure that out later on. But regardless, let's just get into the match. I apologize if I'm a little bit quieter. It is 2 in the morning here, and I have family asleep relatively nearby. But I gotta get this done, and I want to get this done, so let's get it done. He is going to lead with his Druddigon, which leads me to believe even more that he is a Rocks Druddigon, but he actually goes straight up for a Fire Punch. And judging by this calc, I am fully physically defensive. I do the calc, and I'm almost able to confirm he's near max. He's like max attack, adamant, sheer force, because that did a lot, but it's not quite Life Orb sheer force damage, not banded obviously, so I'm thinking, okay, max attack, adamant, sheer force, something like that. But here I want to keep my Bronzong a little bit healthy to deal with possibly his Alakazam later, so I'm going to switch it into my Mandibuzz, which can take this easily. And here, I can just go for a Whirlwind. Like I said, everything on his team takes rocks neutrally. I could have gone for a U-turn, but I didn't want to risk him staying in and like going for an Outrage for whatever reason. But regardless, I am just going to be able to go for a Whirlwind, knock this Aromatisse out of there, and he is going to get sent into his Crawdaunt. And this is a very important part in the match here, because as you can see, he's going to take rocks damage. I'm going to get my leftovers back. Some valuable information is given here. A, I go for the U-turn, so I am definitely faster than this thing, so I'm expecting this thing to be adamant like I predicted. However, here, I am going to go out into my Amoonguss because I'm predicting the Crab Hammer. I should be able to take it relatively well, even though Crawdaunt is very strong. He's going to go for the Crab Hammer, and oh my goodness, that is banded as hell. So he is going to take Rocky Helmet damage, which is really nice. Here he is also going to switch out. I expected some sort of switch, either into this or something that resisted the Giga Drain. I believe possibly he could have switched into the Druddigon, hit me with a Fire Punch. So I'm going to go for the Sludge Bomb. Would have knocked out Crawdaunt from there anyway. He's going to get some decent damage on the Mesprit. And here, I make the prediction. I doubt he's going for Psychic here because I already showed my Mandibuzz. I figure he may go for an Ice Beam, but with my investment, I will be able to take that anyway. And after not seeing Druddigon go for rocks earlier when it easily could have, I'm expecting this to be his rocker, and I'm expecting him to want to go for them now. So I get damage off for the Foul Play. Here now, I'm going to go out into my Mandibuzz, as he actually is going to end up going for the U-turn, which I was kind of hoping he wouldn't because I showed Rocky Helmet on my Amoonguss earlier on, but definitely makes sense. Gain himself initiative. This Mesprit is already low anyway. It's probably not going to be doing too much else. And here he makes kind of an interesting play. Goes out into his Alakazam. Now, keep in mind, I am Spadef. I can take 2 of any hit, being Dazzling Gleam, Modest Dazzling Gleam even. So I should be able to take this hit and get off some good damage on this Alakazam, which is very nice because that puts it in range of a lot of other things on my team. So here he's going to Trace Overcoat. It doesn't really matter because I'm not going to score this with the Amoonguss anytime soon. He's going to go for the Dazzling Gleam, and I live on a very low amount of HP, and I go for the Foul Play. Could have gone for U-turn there, done similar damage to this Foul Play, and then kept my Mandibuzz as a sack, but regardless, this is essentially what I wanted, get some damage off on the Alakazam. Unfortunately, my only switch into this thing is now going to go down to the thing that I was meant to switch into. which is unfortunate, but I knew Mega Alakazam was the threat, and I knew Manabuzz was going to be pressured anyway, and it did its job. It got some damage on the Mega Alakazam, so now I can send out my Porygon Z, my Scarf Porygon Z, and just click Tri Attack and knock something out. And as you're going to see here, he is going to go out into his Mesprit just to sack it off. Good play on his part, because like I said, Tri Attack is not something he easily switches into at all. So going to go for the Tri Attack, is easily going to knock out the Mesprit, and now he is going to go out into his Druddigon to threaten me out. At this point, I'm kind of thinking he may be Assault Vest, because you wouldn't typically see Druddigon come in on a Porygon Z, but I'm not entirely sure yet. Could still definitely be Rocky Helmet. Well, I don't think he'd be Rocky Helmet with Sheer Force, but it's possible. Here, I'm going to go out into my Druddigon, or out into my Bronzong, as he goes for the Dragon Claw, and he gets a crit, which I'm pretty positive didn't matter. Like, I'm pretty sure Fire Punch afterwards would have knocked me out anyway, but I also realize at this point I don't have great things to deal with the Druddigon either, especially if he is Assault Vest, like I'm kind of thinking he is at the moment. This is just a nuisance to my team, so I gotta kind of play a little tricky around it. So I'm gonna go out into my Manectric. Speed this thing, I can get my Mega up. He can take any hit from me. He can take probably 2 of any hit from me, including HP Ice, even though I am modest. So what I'm going to do here, get the Intimidate off as I Mega Evolve, and go right for a Volt Switch. I'm pretty positive he is going to go for another Dragon Claw. So I am now going to Volt Switch out into my Amoonguss. As you can see here, it does come out. And again, I'm hoping for him to go for the Dragon Claw, as he does, which is really good, because I will be able to take this relatively well. I have a good bulk, some investment on the physical side as well, and he's going to take Rocky Helmet damage. And now, expecting him to want to go for the Fire Punch, I'm going to go back out into my Mega Manectric, get another Intimidate on this thing, bring it to -2, so that I can then threaten it more with the HP Ice, and so that he cannot knock me out, being at -2. So as you're going to see here, he's going to go for the Fire Punch, and that is going to do pathetic damage, and I can just fire off an HP Ice here. However, Lars, expected me to do the same thing and go for Volt Switch, so he goes out into his Shaman here, as I'm going to be able to hit that with a Hidden Power Ice, which is really good. And looking at my team, I don't think, like looking at my roster, I didn't think he would bring a Scarf Shaman, and I call his bluff very well as I go for the Flamethrower on the next turn, and I'm easily able to knock out the Shaman, which is really nice, because that opens up the door a little bit for my Porygon Z. Granted, it didn't want to switch in, but it could take 1 and then fire off a Seed Flare, so that's really good for me, now that the Shaman is gone. Now, he is going to send in his Alakazam. Trace's Intimidate obviously does not matter. And I don't have a switch into this. I do not have a switch into Psychic anymore, so I'm just going to let my Mega Manectric go down, which is unfortunate, but I can go out into my Porygon Z to threaten this thing out and just once again get a kill, because Porygon Z just gets a kill every time it comes in. So he is going to withdraw. No reason for him not to, obviously, and he is going to send out his Aromatisse. And as you're going to see here, it's already switched into Rocks once. It's going to come in again at about 76%, and I'm going to go for the Tri Attack, and that is going to be an easy 2 KO. Absolutely no way I can live another one. Even if he protects and gets 6% from leftovers back, I will be able to fire off another Tri Attack and knock him out. He's not going to bother protecting. I'm not sure if he even had it. I assume he did, but I'm not sure. And then we are going to knock out the Aromatisse. So another big threat to my team, not necessarily a big threat, but another annoyance to my team is gone. And now here, he's going to send out his Druddigon. And if he is not Assault Vest, I knock this thing out 100%. So I'm going to go for the Tri Attack. And as you're going to see, it lives. I do get the Para, you're going to see it doesn't really matter. But he lives, confirming that he is Assault Vest, and he goes for an Earthquake. Dragon Claw would not have killed me, just to point that out. And I was horrified at this point that he had Sucker Punch on his Druddigon. Looking at my team structure, I didn't think he would, and especially because if he had Sucker Punch, he had no way to hit my Azumarill, so I figured he'd want to have Gunk Shot. So I go for another Tri Attack. I also want to point out, I'm going to pause it for a second real quick. Right there, I was thinking about switching out Predicting the Sucker Punch, but like you guys saw last week with John, I kind of got paranoid about like an Acid Armor, Trickery, and Reuniclifs, and it was just silly of me. I don't want to make that same mistake again and have it cost me a game. So I look at my team structure, I'm like, okay, doesn't make sense for him to have Sucker Punch. Let's just stay in and go for an attack and knock him out. Even if he does have Sucker Punch, it will still come down to a 50-50 whether or not I can win this game, so let's just do this. So that did end up working out for me, and I'm very glad I did not overreact like I kind of did last time. So here, I win the game 100%. I'm going to go out into my Amoonguss, because as soon as this Crawdaunt touches me, with an Aqua Jet or a knockoff, I win the game, because if he goes for knockoff, he's locked in knockoff, I can go back into PZ, click try attack, and he can't switch back into rocks. However, he is going to pull a double out into his Mega Alakazam, which was a pretty good play on his part. However, it's not going to matter because I kept my Porygon Z around as a sack. And what's really good about this is that I have my Scarfed Acelgor in the back to knock out the remainder 2 of his Mons, and there is no possible way he can come back from this unless I choke horribly. So as you're going to see here, I sack my Porygon Z, and now I can go out into my Scarfed Acelgor, and I'm going to just click Bug Buzz. It knocks out the Crawdaunt and it knocks out this. So I go for the Bug Buzz, and I'm going to knock out the Mega Alakazam, and now it is a 50-50 to whether or not Lars is able to pull out a 1-0 loss or a 2-0 loss. So if I switch out as he goes for knockoff on my Amoonguss, there's a chance that knockoff will be able to kill me. If he goes for Aqua Jet, it'll knock out my Acelgor. Obviously, if he went for Aqua Jet, or if he went for knockoff as I stay in, which is exactly what happens, then he just goes down and we win 2-0. So that was a very good game, Lars. Very close until the very end. Thankfully, I was able to pressure him enough with the combination of my Porygon Z and my Acelgor to the point where I essentially just forced him to sack off more Mons than I did, which is really nice because like he was forced to sack off a Mon every time PZ came in, whereas I was able to deal with the Mega Alakazam kind of early, not super early, but I was able to deal with the Mega Alakazam, and I was able to make a game plan to the point where I could win in the late game. So that is a very big win. We have won 3 in a row since joining the GBA. We have not lost yet, and that feels incredible. We've beaten previous playoff contenders. We have beaten just people that I regard as very good battlers, Lars included. So thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you guys are looking forward to next week. We got a tough one. We're going up against George of the San Francisco Arcanine. It's not going to be easy, but we're going to do our best to win and end his undefeated streak. So thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you then.